Howdy folks, this is a combination of marking a queen and basic entomology. It's proving very difficult to film, just setting up in my kitchen, trying to show you with bees that have deceased, let alone doing it live. But I did want to try and show you the basics. This, if you remember, was the first inspection of the year, the colony that hadn't made it because the wasps had attacked them. And these are going to start decaying and smelling. It's warming up now, and they're out in the shed, so I need to get rid of them off the frame so I can use the frame for something else. But I just thought I'd run through so you can see the difference in size of the queen versus the worker bees. And this was also about the number of bees that we were trying to save that other queen with the rescue project that failed. I know I promised I wouldn't go on about it, but I'm just referring to it. So I'll show you in practical terms with all the bees being live how you would do this. But basically you can buy these little queen cage catchers, and this is my preferred method. It looks a bit gruesome, and sometimes it is a bit gruesome, but it allows you to put a mark on the queen with the least amount of risk to the queen. If you spike a worker or something, it's not favourite, but the queen's the most important thing. She'll lay another egg, and there'll be another bee. All it is little, you can see actually, hopefully, and you can see where I've marked there with another queen, and you put it over the queen like this, like that, and then you push down gently into the surrounding area. You catch her within, she won't get through these bits, so you catch her within those legs like that, and then you just gently push down and down and down until she stops moving, or is still enough, and then you just get a red marker pen. I use red all the time because I can colorblind a bit, but it's, for me, seeing a red dot amongst brown is much easier for me than seeing sometimes white or green or whatever. There are color codes you can use each year that are standard between all beekeepers, so you know which year your queen is. But I keep detailed records. I haven't got migratory bees, so for me, if it's a red queen, and then the other thing is if you do get swarm somewhere and it's got a red mark on it, it's yours. So yeah, that's basically the gist of it. So I'll just pop the thing. So basically this point, you just make sure it's got enough red paint on it. You put it over, dob on her thorax, let her run around the frame to let it dry for a little while, and then that's it. So we'll do a queen marking video live so you can actually see me mark a queen live. And sometimes it's helpful to practice on a drone because they're quite a big creature relative to the workers, and if you get it wrong or kill the drone, it doesn't really matter. If you damage your queen, you're in trouble. So that's basically the queen rearing part of it, or queen marking part of it, I should have said. And yeah, so now we'll move on to basic entomology, and I'll scrape a couple of these bees off so we can see a worker next to the queen, so you get an idea of scale. Okay, so this is just a basic picture of a bee. I just printed it off the internet and put my own labels on, but just to run through very briefly, you've got the compound eye, which is on the side of the bee, and you've got what's called ocelli that are on the top, and they sense movement and also sunlight, which is how they navigate to find food and tell other bees where the food is. They need a sense of direction that they get from the sun, and that's called an ocelli. Then you've got the antenna, which is split into 3 segments. You'll see that when you're looking at your live bees, or you can get a diagram that's much more detailed than this one. But just an interesting fact, the antenna is split into 3 segments, and there are 10,000 smell sensors per segment. So you've got 60,000 smell sensors on one bee. Bear that in mind when you turn up with your favourite perfume on hairspray, none of which I wear unless it's a Friday night and I'm known as Loretta, but that's another story. And basically you need to be as neutral as possible when you're dealing with bees in terms of smell, your vibration, and anything else. All your clothes need to be neutral. Don't wear any perfume or hairspray if you're a female. If you're a man, don't wear aftershave or underarm spray. Nothing. You need to be as really as neutral as possible. That is a crucial part of beekeeping, and making sure that your bees are calm. That's why you'll always see me wearing gloves, partly for disease prevention, but partly to keep my mammal smell away from the bees. That's the reason I do it, mainly for disease, but more often than not, it's because I want to be a neutral smell. The wings have got 2 segments to each side, so there's 4 wings technically, and on the back of the front wings there are little hooks. So as the bee is preparing to fly, those hooks engage with the back wing to make the surface area, you can see, I can't get my finger, oh there, that surface area there then becomes greatly increased and allows the bee to get more lift and fly faster and further than if she just had the 2 wings operating separately. Then you've got the thorax, which is the bit that we mark for the queen. You're trying to get your little dot on that bit. It's a hard exoskeleton, which means outside the body, and so you won't do any damage putting a little mark on there with marker pen, so don't get too frantic about it. And then you've got the soft underbelly of the creature, which is the abdomen, which in the queen is extended. If you put a queen and a worker, the queen's abdomen would come to here roughly, and then that allows her to develop ovaries. They have various sperm sacs that they hold various different interactions with males in there, and every time they lay an egg, they use a different sperm sac, or the queen uses a different sperm sac, just to make sure that there's genetic diversity within the colony, so that they don't get, they've worked it out themselves. It's quite mind-bending when you start looking into biology of bees. And so that's the difference between a worker and a queen. Also on the back of a queen, I really need a marker and I haven't got one, but I'll just use this paper clip. Down the side, this drawing's not very good, but down the side here on a queen's abdomen there are hairs that grow down, and we'll go through why she's got those hairs when we look at the combs, the difference in combs between drone comb and ordinary worker comb. So that will give you an idea of there. I mean, it's quite incredible. I look at this and think this is designed somehow. This is just too clever to be random, but that's my personal view. And then on the legs here, you've got here, just on that joint, roughly just above my little arrow mark there's a little thing that compacts the pollen into a sac that's on the back of the leg. And when you've seen the videos with me saying, oh look, there's pollen coming in, that is the sac full of pollen. And then they have another part of their body that scrapes the pollen out of the sac and just sort of drops it in the colony for the nurse bees that are in there to process. They mix it with a bit of honey or very thick nectar that they've already processed, and they ram it into the cell, making it into what we call bee bread, which is what they feed their babies. It's a mixture of pollen, which is protein, and energy, which is nectar, i.e. sugar. So that's all baby bees grow on, is pollen. So they're pollen and sugar. So they are actually vegetarian. Wasps are carnivores. They eat meat and grubs, and they catch things to feed their babies. Bees collect pollen and sugar. So they're the vegetarian version of, the family of insects, if you like, that come into that category. So you need to make that distinction. So hornets, wasps are carnivores, and bees are vegetarian. So, like I said, this has proved very difficult, and I'll try and show you on a real bee, but the lighting and the camera and all the rest of it. So you can just see there, he says, I had this a minute. Oh, there you go. That's her compound eye, that little black thing on the top of her head there. and you can just see her antenna sticking out of the side there. Can you see her antenna? That's the bit that's split into 3 segments, and they've one either side. And then we'll look at the ocelli probably in real life, because these have shrunk back now, they've died a bit. There you can just see those 2 dots on the top, and there's the thorax at the end of my thumb there. Can you see that bit that you put the mark on? The wings obviously, and her abdomen. So I'll just retrieve the queen off that other frame if you give me 2 seconds. And here she is. So she's marked on her thorax, you can see that. She's also got antenna, and you can see how much more distended her abdomen is compared to the worker. Let's try and see if I can hold them both up. It's very difficult to do it. I didn't realise quite how difficult it's going to be. But you can see that that abdomen is much bigger than the worker bee. Try and put them both together so you can see it. Hang on a second. Come on now, you know you want to. Right. Can you see that? Not really. There you go. That's probably about as good as I'm going to get it. But you can see that that thorax, sorry, that abdomen is far bigger than the worker bee. Okay, so that's really basic entomology. I'll just put this camera down and see if I can just pick them both up so you can see the difference in size. And I haven't got any drones because this colony died during the winter. I'm not sure this is even going to be possible. Yeah, can you see? There's a significant difference. But they're basically the same thing. They're the same creature, both female. One's got a bigger abdomen and purely for ovaries and sperm sacs. That's the only difference. And the difference is made by the royal jelly, exclusively royal jelly, that's fed to a egg or a larva when it hatches. The bees put it in a special cell that I've shown you on the queen rearing videos, and they put royal jelly in there that stimulates, that chemical of royal jelly stimulates the ovaries to develop and all the other sexual organs that the queen needs to become fertile after she's mated, and so she can lay eggs and store eggs, etc. So yeah, fascinating how they do it. It's just, you know, like I said, it's a bit too clever to be random, in my view. I'm trying to organise her so you can see. Roll over, you nutter. Nope, not going to play ball. I don't know whether that's any clearer, is it? No, it's just shadows and everything everywhere. It's so difficult filming this sort of thing. I didn't realise how difficult it would be. But there you go. There they are. And it might become more clear as we go out and look at them in real life. Okay. Right, I was trying to show you a picture from the entomology thing. You can just see her antenna. She's sniffing with them. Can you see her moving them and sniffing them? There you go. Oh damn, there you go, you can just see them. And there's one with the ocelli on the top, and you can see her moving her antenna. They're split into 3 segments. Each antenna's 3 segments, 10,000 smell sensors, on each segment. So there's 60,000. You can see the ocelli there on the top. She's just disappeared, and the compound eye is on the side. Scarpered off. Typical. There you go. You can just see the compound eye on the. No, he says. No, rubbish. Right, I'll stop. I just thought I'd use those two to see whether you could spot it in real life. There you go. You can just see. You saw her eye on the side there. You see that on the side? And she's sniffing with her antenna. And there's the ocelli on the top. Thank you. That was very helpful. There, can you see them? Gone. Can you believe this? I just felt something on my blooming neck, and this girl has followed me all the way home. So I thought, oh, video on entomology. There's her little antenna. Trouble is now we can't see her. Come on. Amazing. Up close and personal with a worker bee. I was hoping for a better picture of her. This camera. Right. So now you can see the thorax there and her antenna here, the ocelli on the top. Don't know whether you can see the compound eye on the side. It's very... But there's the majority of her. See if I can get her up onto this bit of paper. There's her antennae, you can see. Got a bit of stage fright, I think she has. Alright, I'm going to take her outside and see if we can get a better look. There's the ocelli, and you can almost see... God, it's a blooming camera. Right, I'm going to take her outside. It's no better, is it? I thought combination of daylight and... Oh, there we go. There's a ocelli at the top and her antenna going. So the poor old girl doesn't know what to make of it, really. I'm lucky I didn't get stung there. She was literally crawling up the side of my neck, and I thought, what the hell's that? Thought it was a spider, and it was a blooming bee. Must have got caught on the way in. So I'm going to add this to the basic entomology one. There's an actual live worker bee on her own. I'm afraid I can't do anything to help her now. She's just going to have to go outside and risk it for a Swisket. There she is. Trying another torch. There, you can see her compound eye on the side. And she's sniffing with her antenna, look. Because she doesn't know where she is. She's on a bit of paper. Can't work it out. There's her eye on the side. You see that black just next to her antenna? That's the compound eye there. And I'm probably blinding her with this, I'm afraid, but you know, you get a good view of it. And there's, if the camera would focus, there's the ocelli on the top. There, can you just see those two black dots? There they are. So I've had enough blinding her, I think I'm going to stop. But there's a bee, a worker bee, in full flight. Well, really not full flight, but in all her glory. Okay.